Hi, I'm John, and about 3 months ago, I found myself once again preparing to end my life. It's a recurring theme with me. However, for the first time in my adult life, I may genuinely want to live. I say genuinely because I've had scarce moments of motivation, moments where life seemed almost desirable, and it's from those moments I want to differentiate. Even when I thought I was doing well, when I thought I was feeling normal, I now understand those moments to be merely the best of a horrible situation. A nightmare, really. Up until maybe age 12, and then beginning virtually right now, are the only moments in my life where I have experienced daily hope for the future, and not just desire to carry on, but to excel, to succeed, to live. I'm 37 years old, and for the past 22 years, I have consistently wanted to die. Even when things were going relatively well, ceasing to exist always seemed preferable. So there were times when I'd agonize over facing another day still breathing, and other times when my proclivity towards death was just a quiet whisper in the back of my mind. I still held jobs, although I'd quit often, and I've had friends along the way, although I've pushed away or abandoned most. A few stuck it out, and I am and will always be immensely grateful to those few. It's because of those few friends and family that I made it this far. Many times it was simply the guilt felt at the thought of causing these amazing people so much pain that kept me from the brink. So, for the last 12 years I've been actively on and off, seeking help from mental health practitioners of varying titles and degrees, and multiple runs of medication for depression, anxiety, and whatnot. With both doctors and medications, I've had some successes along the way, some lasting a while, some fleeting, but far more failures. I've been 5150'd, also known as an involuntary psychiatric hold, twice. I've been through an IOP or intensive outpatient program 3 times. And I've made a few attempts at suicide. Which brings me back to 3 months ago, when a friend noticed the signs, the precursors to another attempt, and scheduled an appointment for me. An appointment with a psychiatrist administering an all too often misunderstood and misrepresented drug known as ketamine, which is known for having an extremely high success rate in those with treatment-resistant depression. My friend, who is arguably worse off than me, had found tremendous success in this treatment. It saved him, and I knew it. I begrudgingly agreed to go and assured him that this treatment, like all the rest, would fail. But, in a tiny fragment of my mind, I secretly and desperately hoped it would work. I longed for reprieve. But I had reached a point where false hope seemed more detrimental than having none to begin with. The day of the treatment, I was irritable, apprehensive. It began with an hour-long evaluation with the psychiatrist, and I was immediately thrown off guard by the rapid-fire pointed questions and furious note-taking. I'm sure it didn't hurt that I had grown quite accustomed to sharing my dark past, but I had never sat with a doctor so intent on getting to the bottom of things. While most doctors I've interacted with seemed content to let me drone on aimlessly while throwing in a few questions here and there, this doctor got to the point. It's almost as if he knew time was of the essence. By the end of that hour, that doctor had dug at least as deep as all my other doctors combined had over the course of years. He even managed to surprise me with insights into my psyche that no other doctor had even considered. So at that point, I had been deemed a viable candidate for ketamine. And despite the refreshing difference in tactics, my faith in the forthcoming treatment remained unaltered. Later that day, I went back for my injection appointment. Chris is the friend who made me go. Dr. Terrence Early of Interventional Psychiatry Associates in Santa Barbara, California, is the psychiatrist. And together, they saved my life. By the end of that 45-minute treatment, complete perspective shift. Everything was different. Those closest to me saw the difference immediately, in my eyes, in my posture, and later in my life. Over the course of the next few weeks, people I worked with, some for years, some for just months, completely unaware of my treatment, approached me to comment on the visible change. They told me how glad they were I seemed finally happy. Happy may be the wrong word, but it feels within reach. I now find myself in uncharted waters, wanting to live, and not just live, but to live with purpose. I have a plan. First and foremost, I want to offer hope to those who have none left. Hope to those who feel they've exhausted all options and now avoid perceived false hope and the pain it brings. If one thing is clear to me, it's that the mental health industry is failing a great many people. It may be that it leans toward caution when, for some at least, aggressive action is needed. I want to help dispel the misconceptions revolving around supposedly experimental treatments such as ketamine. There are powerful, life-saving tools at our disposal, and we fear to use them. In the United States, suicide rates have reached an almost 30-year high. Bad science and propaganda had closed the doors on these potentially life-saving treatments for decades. But take heart. Thanks to a relatively small subsect of doctors and scientists, bold action is being taken. Some are even risking their careers to further the study of these so-called questionable drugs in order to quell this surge in suicides. MDMA, more commonly known as ecstasy, is finding success in treating those with treatment-resistant PTSD. Psilocybin, the compound found in magic mushrooms, much like ketamine, is found to have a profound impact on those with treatment-resistant depression, among other beneficial attributes such as treating obsessive-compulsive disorder and even aiding in smoking cessation. LSD is being revisited and may be a key element in fighting drug and alcohol addiction. The tide is turning. I truly believe I was not long for this world. But ketamine changed all that. I'm not saying it's a cure-all, and for some, far less is required to make a meaningful change. But for treatment-resistant depression, ketamine, by some estimates, has a 75% success rate, and I am thankful to be counted among those in the positive. It's been a few months, and I've had 3 injections. I'm going to start with a weekly vlog, so those interested can follow my progress. I want to talk more about the injection process and hopefully record one of my sessions in the near future. I'll talk about other forms of treatment that I've gone through and more about my past along the way. But the focus of this vlog is the almost unbelievable effects of ketamine that ripped me from the bowels of hell and its continuing effects over the coming weeks and months. And its purpose is to offer hope to an ever-increasing number of people who grow weary at battling depression's tightening grip with seemingly no end in sight. I was that person. I am that person. I guess at the end of the day, who really knows how this will all turn out? It's still so new. I remember after that first treatment, the change was so monumental. All of my fears shifted from, what if this doesn't work? To, what if this goes away? It's possible that this isn't the lasting peace that I've been secretly craving for years. I mean, I still have ups and downs. And I have to admit the possibility exists that I slip back into darkness, and I am preparing accordingly. But then again, this might be exactly what it seems.